Hello, my name is Karthik. I'm from Bangalore and super happy to be here talking about our birth experience. In fact, our second birth experience at Birthvillage.
Hi, I'm Febin. I'm from Kerala, but we're both settled in Bangalore. And yeah, like Karthik said, very happy to share our birth experience with Birth Village.
Maybe we should start with our story a little bit in terms of where we met. Basically, we've known each other for like 12 years now, I think almost. Met each other in our undergrad college. Obviously, being interreligion, interfaith marriage, it was not the most easy thing to do, but we're very glad that we passed through a lot of hurdles, and here we are 6 years, 6.5 years now actually, after a marriage with our second kid, and it's been a wonderful experience so far.
Um, I've always been a very maternal person, and yeah, I have very strong maternal instincts. Even back in school, like I was so sure I wanted two kids. I knew what age gap they would have. I knew what their names would be. Um, this was like when I was 12-year-old or even 10-year-old. I think I always knew I wanted to be a mother.
So about Birth Village, I had actually heard about Birth Village, I think way back in 2017. This was through one of my colleagues, an American colleague who birthed here. I was actually working on a project with him, and he had told me about their birth experience, and we were very curious about it. I told Febin, and this was even before we conceived. And at that point in time, it sounded a bit strange. It sounded very risky. I remember discussing with a couple of people, and they were all like, "Oh, this seems like a very outdated or very traditional system, which is not really up to terms with the recent medical interventions and advancements." But that was the idea that we initially had. But then, as when we conceived, actually, we remembered this, as well as we were thinking about taking a care provider in Bangalore where we stay. However, given the fact that when we did our little bit of research on the website, we found many things interesting about it. We thought we'll come and check the center out, talk to people, and understand what this is about.
Yeah, so when we came to Kerala to check out the center, at that point, Karthik was more on board with the idea than I was. He had heard from his colleague and stuff, and I was like, I'm not going to give birth in some place that's not a hospital. Like, it's such a random idea, right? But then, like he said, we did our research, and the more I read, the more I heard, it just made so much more sense. And then the final thing was coming to the center. This was the old center in Vaitila. It was much smaller center than the newer one. So it had this vibe of a really warm, cozy home. I walked in and I just immediately felt at ease. Immediately felt like I was in a safe space. And then we met the staff. So Priyanka was not there that day, but we met the midwife who was there on call that day. Um, and yeah, it just made sense. Like not at an intellectual level, but at a very internal level.
Us meeting, the multiple conversations we had with Priyanka on phone, the consultations that we did here when we actually came and saw the place, like Febin was saying. I think a lot of this through a combination of, I should say actually, Febin's reading, right, more than anything. We would discuss a lot about it, and we felt we actually went through a journey which convinced us. And that is what actually got us to, take this plunge of birthing.
So our first birth experience at BV was, I would say, quite an adventure, on its own. So you know how you hear each birth story is different. It really is, because I remember in our Lamas classes, generally we discuss when is the right time to come to the center. When does the active labor start? So there are all these 511. Your contraction should be 5 minutes space, 1 minute. It should have gone on for 1 hour. So we had that very rigidly in mind. Okay, 511, and then that's when we go to BV. So basically, my labor started early in the morning around 2 o'clock, and it started very periodic, 8 minutes, and it went on like that for hours from like 2 in the morning. Say I would say around 10, 11. So that's 9 hours of labor, and Now that I know how labor and labor pain is, I know it was of moderate intensity. Like it was not early labor that you're doing your thing and it's going and coming. It was of decent intensity. But then it was still 8 months apart, so we were like, huh, okay, whatever. We kept informing Priyanka periodically. And then around, I think 12 is when it got more intense. And that's when Karthik's mom advised me to drink hot jeera water. So apparently it increases the labor, it fastens the labor, and if it's false labor, it stops. So I had at 12, I had the jeera water, and my labor completely stopped. Okay, so I was like, oh man, like this is false labor that I don't know what real labor is. So then I slept for half an hour. At 12:30, my labor just started with a bang. Like it was full on intensity, but again, it was not 5 minutes apart, and we were very stuck with that idea that it needs to be 5 minutes apart. And all this time, we had a car parked, so we don't have a car here. So we had a car parked outside, and when our labor had stopped, we had told him to go back. Now, in all this confusion, when the labor restarted, nobody remembered that there's no car outside. So at 2:30, when my water broke, and we told Priyanka, she said, "Okay, you need to come in now." And then we realized, oh, there is no car. And then, the whole Uber, Ola, and obviously some two, three people cancel on us. So from when we decided we need to leave to actually when the car came was some 30-35 minutes. I think it was the longest 30-35 minutes of my life. And then half an hour journey to BV. And I remember at that point I was in proper active labor and I had haze, zoned out. I remember Priyanka was on call and she was asking me to breathe, and Karthik was saying some things. And I remember just like, being in that zoned out space and just taking each contraction as it comes. We entered Birthvillage at 3:47, and our car got in. I remember Donna coming up and asking me, Febin, can you walk till the room? And I had just had a contraction, so I was like, okay, I have 3 more minutes for the next one. I think I can. So we come inside the room, and Priyanka asked me to squat, and so Karthik, helps me get down, and then she takes my hand and brings it near my vulva and asks me, "Can you feel something?" And I touch, and I feel something soft and warm, and she tells me it's my baby's head. So I was already basically grounding when I came there. And Priyanka just said, Febin, one push. That's all you need to do. So I pushed, and my beautiful baby was out.
I remember in the car she was actually in her fours, and whenever she would get the contractions, I would do that hip
Double hip squeeze.
the double hip squeeze, which was helping her. So the whole car journey was a double hip squeeze kind of car journey, with me guiding the driver on where to go, because the Whitehilla place was like not the most straightforward way to get, given some work was happening at that point in the main road, and this constant coaching by Priyanka on the call, and Febin kind of reacting to it well. Those are the things that really, yeah, I still remember those things very vividly.
The kind of confidence BV gave us, the Lamaze classes, the kind of information we had, those 10-12 hours of labor that we managed at home, I felt like we knew what to do. We were a team. He knew when I got into a contraction, I knew what position to take. Karthik knew how to squeeze my hips, make me feel better. He was constantly giving me food and water when I needed it. I felt like we were very prepared at that moment, and we were very confident, maybe overconfident, and that's why we were so late. But yeah, and that's thanks to Birthvillage again. Yeah, so I'd also like to talk about the aspect of me having GD during both my pregnancies. So the first time, we did that OGTT test at around starting of third trimester, and I had failed the test. I remember my first star number was really really high, and the other two also were not great. And Priyanka at that point had said, she was very clear, Febin, with these numbers, you can't birth at BV because this is no longer a low risk pregnancy. But the good thing is that it's all in your hands. You can manage this with diet and exercise. And she laid out this, very strict regimen for me. We had a huge discussion about the diet plan, what I eat at each meal, how I should exercise, do at least 20 minutes brisk walk. This is apart from the squats and stairs and everything we do, but 20 minutes walk after each meal, how to reduce, carbohydrates, increase your protein, no dairy, no fruit, obviously no sugar, that's a given. So Priyanka was very, very strict about, how I need to manage my diet. Given this history in my second time pregnancy, also obviously we tested much earlier. So we tested in my second trimester itself. And again, I failed the test. So then it was that whole regimen again of diet and exercise. And again, thanks to Priyanka for her effort, for her diligence. She made sure, even when I slacked off, she made sure that I was brought to task and that I took care of my sugar, my diet, my exercise at every point. When we crossed 40 weeks, we had that discussion with Priyanka. And we also were very comfortable because Priyanka has always, how she says it's not a due date, it's a due month. It's normal pregnancies 38 to 42 weeks. So we were also very comfortable to wait at 42. And I'd also heard of cases that go beyond 42. So I remember telling Priyanka, even if it goes beyond 42, if you are okay, we are okay to wait. And I remember Priyanka telling at that point, Febin, I have seen 42, 43, I've even seen 44. But each case is different. Given your situation, given your condition, since you are GDM, I would not be comfortable to wait beyond 42. And that's what struck me at that point, how Priyanka and Bibi were about trusting natural labor in how it progresses, but also basing decisions on evidence based information.
Back at the two births that we've been fortunate to have at Birth Village, I think it's impacted our lives quite significantly. First of all, the entire experience of going through that labor, the birth, and that first night that we actually spent with the child, the three of us, especially the first one. That experience, I can't even put it into words. It was such a divine experience. I think that was one thing.
The whole midwifery care of model just gives you that confidence in your body that you're capable of this, that nature has designed you for this. And I think that strength that it gives you from within is the most important influence of midwifery in my life. And the second thing I would say is the community of women it has built. It's literally women supporting each other, standing up for each other, right from our midwife, right, Priyanka, to the chechis who help you during birth, and then it's the fellow mothers who we talk to, we take tips, we share our troubles, we share the joys of motherhood. It's a whole community of women that is built around ourselves. So I really, if I start to think where does the influence of midwifery end, I don't know, because I feel like it's impacted me as an entire person. I'm so different before these two births and now after these two births. And I think our journey would have been very, very different if this was not how we had done it. My suggestion, advice to expecting parents would be I think the most important thing is for you to be convinced of what your journey should be. And that will involve a lot of research, understanding, finding out what are the different ways that we can do this, checking your different options, right? There need not be one answer for everybody, depending on our upbringing, our value systems, what resonates with us. Each of us can have different answers. But it's important that that answer came from your conviction and it was not based out of fear or someone said so or this is how it always is and there's no questioning that, right? So it's important what guided you in your ultimate choice of how you want to birth your child.
I would just add, especially for the expecting fathers, it's very important for you to be involved in the journey as well, quite deeply, simply because that's such an enriching experience for yourself, but also because it is very important to support your partner, your spouse in that process. So generally, there is actually sometimes there is a chance that either the parents or the in-laws, someone's going to get a lot more involved, and the father kind of gets sidelined. So as much as possible, be that support pillar that you need to be